Oh, MGs, boys, girls, in-betweeners, welcome back, and we're doing a Juri tutorial for Season 4. Now, this is a little bit late in the game, Season 4, about halfway through it, but this has been something which has been requested for a very long time, that why I don't have a Season 4 tutorial when I've done ones for Seasons 1, 2, and 3, and 3.5. So, since there isn't going to be a Season 4.5, we're just going to do it now, basically. So, long story short is I'm looking to keep this one a little bit tighter, a little bit leaner than previous tutorials. So, essentially, in previous tutorials, I've gone into like the frame data and a lot of the minutiae of the moves. I feel like if I do that again, I'm just really going to be repeating myself because very little has actually changed in Season 4 about Juri. This is really more for the people who are new to the game and are concerned that if they're not seeing a Season 4 tutorial, then they're seeing old information, because they're not. So if you've seen the previous tutorials and you know about Juri, you know how she works, how she plays, there's probably not much here for you, but stick around if you want, regardless, because we're going to go through everything anyway, and you can yell at me in the comments if I get anything wrong. So, that said, let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Now, for people who want to ask in the comments as well, we are using mods. This is obviously not Juri, this is Chun-Li, but it's a really hot fucking Chun-Li, so she's on top of Juri right now. Juri has borrowed her body for the purposes of this tutorial. That said, also the stage is also a mod. It's actually a stage that's in the game, that just can't use it for actual training mode or anything like that, but we can do it because we use PC Master Race. So, that's those questions out of the way for people who are wondering about that. Right, how to play Juri. This is a primer for people who have not played Juri before or are new to Street Fighter. Juri is a spacing slash shutdown character in my opinion. She is not a rushdown character. She is not made to be played defensively. She is made to be played somewhere in between. She can go in, she can get her damage, as bad as it is, and get out. That's really all there is to it. She can apply very limited bursts of pressure, but there is nothing sustained about her pressure. She has to, once she does her string, she has to back off. Otherwise, she's being unsafe, and Juri, unlike other characters like Bison or Akuma, does not really have the ability to steal turns from the opponent. Once her turn is done, that's it. Just accept that your turn is over and move on. Because she's a spacing slash neutral character, she has a lot of tools that are very long range. So buttons like this, we'll get into this in a minute, but that's basically how she works. So if you like playing a character who is designed to keep the opponent at arm's reach, who is designed to shut down the tools that they have, which we'll get into later on as well. Basically, more of a counter character really than anything else. She's designed to just take tools away from the opponent and bug them to death. If you enjoy that, Juri is probably for you. If you like playing defensively, Juri is not for you because she does not have the tools to play defensively. If you like playing offensively, Juri is not for you either. She is there. She is very much a character who is extremely honest and has to be played with a lot of patience, which I'm bad at, and a lot of, well, careful thinking, which I'm also bad at. So, that's the overview for Juri. Let's go into the moves. We're going to count down basically all of her normal specials, all that sort of thing, and I'm not going to go into the frame data of them this time because I'm just really trying to just bang this out, so you guys will have something to use. And if you want the frame data, there's apps for that. There's just go onto your phone, go into the App Store, and search Frame Analysis Tool. And that's basically will give you all the frame data you'll ever need for Street Fighter V. That said, if you want a general rule of thumb for Juri, she's minus on everything. She has 3 buttons that are plus on block. It's 3 or 4. There's at least 3. This is plus on block, and I think 2 that are 0. I think. No, it's 4. No, it's definitely 4. Sorry, it's been a while since I played this game. I'm tutorializing. Let's go. All right. So going off the normal moves. Light Punch, fairly decent. It's a 3-frame startup. I know that off the top of my head, I'm actually right on that one. 3-frame startup, so it is a very fast move. Has fairly limited range like all 3-frame moves, so you want to make sure you use this at the right range and nowhere else basically. But it does have its applications as a anti-air, it has its applications as a combo starter, things like that, so it's not too bad. Standing medium punch. Has a lot of pushback. A lot of pushback. Compare that to Light Punch. That's Light Punch pushback, that's medium punch pushback. It is one of Juri's very few moves. This is plus on block, by the way, and this is plus on block. So it's one of the very few moves that Juri has, which is plus on block. That said, it's only very useful in very specific situations. Because it has so much pushback on it, you cannot use this as a harassment tool. It has been designed specifically with the purpose of not being a harassment tool, because it pushes them too far back. Juri has literally one move she can follow up with that from, which is standing meme kick. 3-hit combo, and that's it. That is the limit of what she can do. Let's turn on key display so you guys can see stuff that I'm doing when I mash buttons. I mash buttons a lot. Alright, standing heavy punch. This is one of Juri's anti-airs. Juri does not have one universal anti-air she can use for every situation. She has multiple anti-airs which get used in multiple situations. Aren't you lucky you have to guess? So, you really just have to know when... It's really an experience thing. You just have to learn when an opponent using a particular character does a particular move. You'll find out just through trial and error whether this is a appropriate anti-air or it's one of our other anti-airs, which is appropriate. That said, beyond the anti-air nature of this move, it's not bad as a spacing tool because it is cancelable. Oop. There we go. So you can throw it out. It has decent range, as you can see. Not great, but it's decent. You have to watch out for moves that will go under it though, because the hitbox is a little bit high on it. So there are some moves that can go under it, so you have to be wary of that. Like I said, it is cancelable, it is unsafe by itself, so you have to be careful at the range you use that. And that's really all there is to say about this one. It's used in combos, it's used as an anti-air, it's used as a tool for buffering and neutral. Outside of that, it's alright, it's alright. It's definitely one of our better normals, so let's put it that way. Because we're going to come up against some more later on which are just fucking worthless and you will never use for anything. Alright, staying light kick. Another one of Juri's moves which is plus on block. So we have this, and this so far. Let's actually check the frame data on that just to make sure. I'm pretty sure, well I know they're out plus, but let's just see how plus they are. So let's just put our frame Ken into Gardol. And let's make sure our attack data is on. Right, so that's +2, that's +1, that's +2. So, see, I was right, I know how to Juri. So, it's one of the very few moves which is plus on block, so she does have 4. I remember now, it's 4 moves with plus on block, because there's one more to go. Beyond that, it has very limited uses, I will say that much. It's really only used in combos and not much else, because of, as you saw, it has a very limited range. You can see it's passing through Ken's leg. What the hell, Juri? What the hell? So its range is not as good as it looks, although actually that could be also partially due to the fact that we are using mods. So that said, it's still just, you know, not that good. So you'll use it in combos, like you saw before, and that's really going to be the only time you use it. It's not useful as a poke, it's not useful as a buffer tool, that's basically all you're going to use it for. Staying meme kick. Flat out, hands down, one of the best pokes in the game. Juri is not a high tier character, but by god, this is a high tier move. This move alone, if this move was a little bit better, it would raise Juri's rank in the tier list exponentially. That's a topic for another video, which I will do, but whether Juri is secret top tier or not. But I will say that this is absolutely a top tier move. It has fantastic range. It's a 5-frame startup. I think so. It's 5 or 6, can't remember, but either way, it's still very fast. So, no, it is 5-frame because she's +4 on this, isn't she? No, it's +5, so it is 5-frame. Okay, there you go. 5-frame move! This is a fantastic tutorial. Because it can link from this and this. So, that said, 5-frame startup for a Mia move is still pretty damn good. Like I said, has fantastic range. One of the furthest reaching normal moves in the game by a country mile. There are very few characters in the game which have a normal move which can outpoke this. This is your bread and butter spacing tool in neutral. That's all there is to it. It is so damn good. It is cancelable off the first hit. It hits twice at close range. It only hits once at long range. But if you do twice... Oh, let's try it again. There we go. It is cancelable off the first hit. That said, it actually is easier in this season than it has been, I think, in seasons 1 and 2. I think they fixed it in season 3. It had a painfully short cancel window in those seasons, and they increased the cancel window in season 3. That said, it's still not the easiest thing in the world to cancel off the first hit. It's just easier than it used to be. So, but, of course, because you're cancelling off the first hit, you only get the first hit of damage. So it goes 40-30 in terms of damage. So if you cancel off the first hit, you're only getting the 40 damage, you're not getting the 30 afterwards. So, like I said, it is a top tier move in terms of range and speed, but there's a couple of caveats which keep it from being really fucking broken. Unlike other characters like Akuma, crushing fierce punch. Moving on. Stand heavy kick. This move is quite good, but you have to use it sparingly. It does cause crush counter. And you can get follow-ups after it, depending on the range that you're at. At close range, you can just walk up and do stand medium punch into whatever you want, usually target combo. Long range, you have to dash up and do the combo we saw earlier. Like that. You can't walk up. Or if you're just feeling super lazy, you can just do stand heavy kick and stand heavy kick. Like that. It's not bad if you're new at the game and you don't want to dash up afterwards, because I do understand that dashing up after a crush counter and trying to do a combo is not easy if you're new at the game. That's understandable, so that is an option for you there as well. Don't be ashamed, I used to do it. So you got that going for you. That's the standing moves taken care of. Lucky us. Alright, crouching moves. Crouching light punch. Worthless. Worthless. I think this one is 0 on block. Let's find out. No, it's +2. It's crouching light kick is 0, that's right. So yeah, +2 on block. That's the only thing that's good about it. There are very specific situations, which I'll go into in a separate video, which we'll talk about at the end of this, where this is useful for frame traps. So, very limited application if you're going for a frame trap, because it is +2. It's a 4-frame startup, not a 3-frame startup, I can tell you that much. But beyond that, it is... beyond its ability to be used in frame traps, it's worthless. It's really just the fact that it is +2 on block that actually makes it worthwhile for anything at all. Alright, let's keep going with that. So crouching medium punch. Also kind of worthless. In Street Fighter 4, I've mentioned this before, this was a primary anti-air. If you're a Street Fighter 4 player looking to pick Juri up in 5, this is no longer anti-air. It looks the same. It looks just like the animation from Street Fighter 4, but it's not. It's not an anti-air. It gets used in combos again and nothing else. The only time you'll ever use this is in combos. There's no reason to use it for anything else. Why? Because we'll get to crouching medium kick in a bit. So that's it. That's all there is to it. There's no other reason to use this outside of combos. Crouching fierce punch. It's a second anti-air. Huzzah! It also causes crush counter. Causes airborne crush counter. So, you know, that's a thing. That's something. Come on. Oh, there we go. Jump. Like so. So, that does give you follow-up options. There's swaggier follow-ups you can do than that. I don't recommend them. I recommend just don't be greedy, just do a DP, and just take that. That's all there really is to this. This can be used in combos because it does allow you a little bit better damage than a standing fierce punch. So for example, if you did jumping heavy kick, stand fierce. You did jumping heavy kick, stand fierce. Thank you. Right, that's 162 damage. If you do the crouching fierce punch instead, it's 171 damage. So you get a little bit more damage. 9 points more damage. Ugh. The caveat to that is that it's slower to start up than standing fierce punch. So when you're using it in combos, you have to be very, very specific about your timing. And what I mean by that is that you can play against characters like G, or Sagat, or Abigail, or anyone else who's just really tall. And if you land a hit on top of their noggin, and then go for a crouching fierce punch afterwards to continue your combo, because there is a greater travel time between where their head is, as opposed to where Ken's head is, because Ken is shorter, it will take you longer to reach the ground, and therefore will eat the time difference in terms of being able to link the moves together. So what do I mean by all that? Well, if you don't understand how links work or how combos work, essentially what it means is that this, even though it is 9 points less damage, is easier to combo than the alternative. So either be very aware of how tall your opponent is and how close you are to the ground when you're kicking them, or just go for the stand fierce version because it is a much safer option and much more reliable. That's what I mean. That's all her crouching punches. Her crouching kicks. Crouching light kick. This one's 0. So this is 0 on block, which means there's no advantage to either player. It's kind of a decent move in like a weird harassment way because it actually has like decent range for a light. It's not bad. It's 3-frame startup, so it's the same as a jab. Actually, it might be 4-frame, don't quote me on that. But that said, it's still a decent harassment tool. It's a good kind of get off me tool if you're crouch blocking and you're just looking to get them off here because they're doing strings and you don't know where the gaps in their strings are. Just mashing that will get them off you. It's not bad for that purpose by itself. That's not a very high level tool, but I mean, I still do it from time to time because I'm not that high level, but there you go. So, it's not bad for that. It's about the only time you'll ever use it. You're not really going to use it for anything else. It's, like I said, it's a decent kind of weird get off me tool. Alright, crouching medium kick. This is why crouching medium punch is worthless, because crouching medium punch... Switch to range which we can't hit. Alright, so it's not hitting from here. A little bit closer. Ken's being disagreeable, but trust me when I say that it actually has a little bit better range. Anyway, point being is that it's just a better tool than crouching medium punch for cancelling in combos. It also hits low, which is the other reason why you want to do it, because this hits mid. So because this hits mid, they can block that standing or crouching, whereas if you hit them with this, they have to block a crouching. So it's easier to catch someone with this than it is to catch them with this. So for that reason alone, it's a better move than crouching medium punch. Stuff like that. So it is a very good party starter in that regard. It has quite a decent range on it. And like I said, but the primary attraction of it is that it hits low. So you want to go with that. And also, if you space it right, there's, yeah, it's pretty good for catching people out. Oh, we'll get to you in a second unique move. Command normal you. So crouching medium kick is quite good. Moving on, because we're trying to get through this. Sweep, crouch fierce, same for every character in the game, same frame data. It's minus as hell on block. You don't want to throw out sweeps unless you have to. That said, Juri does have one of the better sweeps in the game in terms of range. Yes, just don't take the the hitbox there as being gospel. We are using mods, which does alter how big Juri's model is as opposed to hitboxes, so it's not as egregious as that. It's kind of why I was having trouble before hitting the crouching medium punch. But I like to show off mods, so just take my word for it. This is actually quite a decent range sweep. It's not the best in the game by any margin. There are definitely characters who have better range sweeps, Karn being one of them, that bitch. So you do not want to get a sweep ice with people, but you know, it's still not that bad. You'll certainly never be in a situation where they sweep you and you can't counter sweep them back, unless they're Karn, because god damn that bitch. Right, that's all the crouching moves taken care of. Let's go with jumping moves. Because we saw a bit of those before. So, jumping light punch. Fucking worthless. Up until now, whenever there's been a move that we've talked about, I have basically said, okay, you know, there's an application for it somewhere. You know, it's a get off me tool, it's plus on block, it's cancelable, whatever. This is absolutely worthless and you will never use it for anything. Strike it from your memory. That's all there is to it. Jumping medium punch. It causes fall state. So not a crouch, we're on jump. There we go. So normally when you hit someone in the air, they just you know, flip out of it basically, right? But when you hit one with jumping medium punch, they fall out of it. And falling means you can get a follow-up. So it's not a bad air-to-air move. Problem is that they're just better ones. It's not bad for that reason. If you can read what they're doing, if you know that they are about to jump and you want to meet them in the air, that's not a bad option. It's just the problem is that it's not bad, it's just there are better moves that Juri can do in the air, and we'll get to those pretty soon. That said, jumping fierce punch, again, worthless, you'll never use this for anything. The jumping heavy kick is better, that's all there is to it. They both do the same damage, but this one tilts up for no reason, making it harder to hit with. Whereas this one tilts down, which makes it easier to hit with. So, That's all there is to it. So you can strike Jumping Light Punch and Jumping Fierce Punch from your memory because you'll never use them for anything. Jumping Light Kick is actually one of our definitely better air-to-air moves. If you are in an air-to-air trade situation, you can throw this bad boy out and it has quite a good hitbox on it. It will win a lot of air-to-air trade situations. Not all of them. There are moves that will beat it. It's pretty hard. Laura's Jumping Heavy Kick is one of those. Bison's Jump Fierce, Ryu's Jump Medium, things like that. But for the most part, most of the cast, this will win you a lot of air-to-air situations. It also crosses up. So Juri is actually hashtag blessed with more than one cross-up, and this is one of them. So it's quite decent for that. It's good for tick throw setups, things like that. That's something like Kick, Jumping Meme Kick. This used to be a good move. It was better in 4. It's not bad in 5, it is their other cross-up move. If you space it right. There you go. It's not hard to cross up with. That said, I missed it twice, but it's still not hard to cross up with. So it's quite good in that regard, but the only thing you'll ever use it for is cross-ups. You'll never use it for anything else. It's bad in air-to-air trade situations. It's not a great hitbox on it. As you can see, the active frames aren't that good. It's kind of hard to hit with when you jump in. And if you're jumping in, you're better off going with Jumping Heavy Kick, which is what we'll talk about now, because we're done talking about Jumping Medium Kick. Jumping Heavy Kick is Juri's best jumping move. It is a bit slow to start up, so it's not good for air-to-air trade situations, but it is good for jump-ins because, like I mentioned, it angles down. It has good active frames, it angles down. It's a very easy party starter for when you're jumping in. It has a lot of good hit stun on it as well, so when you jump in, if they block it, you can shimmy or go for tick throw or whatever you want to do. So that is your absolute party starter for when you are jumping in and nothing else. Right, that said, let's talk about throw. Actually, no, we'll talk about command normals. Juri's got a couple of them. She's got an overhead, forward medium kick. This move is actually really bad. It's really good and really bad. The really good part about it is probably one of the furthest reaching overheads in the game, if not the furthest reaching. It hits from a mile away. So you cannot complain about the fact that she has like no range on this thing, because it will catch people off guard purely by virtue of the fact that it hits from so fucking far away. There's been many times where I've been able to get the last hit in a round just because they were not expecting an overhead from over here, like here. Right? Like this is when you're standing this far back, you're not expecting a fucking overhead. But Juri does have that in her arsenal. The problem is that frame data wise, it's really bad. It's -6 on block, which is universal, so that's fine. That's not the part that I have a problem with. The part that I have a problem with is that it's 0 on hit. So even if you hit them with this thing, Juri is not an advantage. She does not get to automatically continue pressure after that. She can continue pressure, but if they press a button that's faster than hers, then she's going to lose. So it's really only good for, like I said, that last hit situation. It's either the last hit situation, or if you are looking to... If you can smell blood in the water, and you've got them blocking because of your V-trigger or something like that, you can throw this out, get them blocking, then do a tick throw or something. But that's dicey, that's risky, because like I said, they can just press a button and knock you out of it, so... Try to use it sparingly, is what I'm trying to say. Alright, that said, Juri has a second command normal, which is a back heavy kick. It's identical to Ryu's, right down to the frame data, because it's -2 on block. Hits twice. It is very, very, very cancelable. You can cancel off the first or second hit. That's the first hit. That's still the first hit. That's the second hit. So it's extremely good for hit confirms. We're not going to talk about hit confirms in this video, we can talk about that later. It's extremely good for that. That's really about all it's good for. High level Juri players don't tend to use this move because it is -2 on block, so the only thing you can do when someone blocks is either cancel it into a fireball store, because the fireball store is also -2 on block, or you can just let it rock and that's it. So for that reason, I don't see a lot of high level Juri players using it, but I like it. It's a very, very easy hit confirm tool, which is something that you need when you're playing online. So I would not dismiss it. I would not rule it out of your arsenal. That said, Juri also has a third... Actually, well, it's not a command normal. Let's talk about target combos. Juri's got 2 of them. One of them is forward or back, medium punch, and heavy punch. Where she says piss off, which is not very PC at all, Juri. I'll thank you to watch that potty mouth. This is, like any target combo, it is not safe on block, and you can cancel it on hit, you can't cancel it on block. It does give you some fairly swaggy options because it puts them into a fall state. Stuff like that. Or you can just do what I did before, just do a DP at the end of it, something like that. So there's even more swaggy stuff you can do with it, because Juri is a fairly swaggy character, even though damage does not reflect that. That's all really all there is to it. You really want to just use this in situations where you know it's going to work. So you use it in situations like after a crush counter, things like that. You do not want to be throwing this out randomly in the neutral, because like I said, it is minus on block. It's not just regular minus on block, it's very minus on block. It is minus 12, which is extremely, extremely bad. So you absolutely do not want to use that in situations when you can avoid it. You just want to use it when you know it's going to hit. So I tend to favor using it after crush counters, after V-trigger activation, and that's kind of it. Alright, that said, Juri has a second target combo, which is jumping medium punch, and followed by heavy kick. So jumping medium punch, heavy kick while in the air. You don't want to do it when you're on the ground, you want to do it in the air. Looks like this. Like that. Now, this was one of the changes that is not actually mentioned in the other tutorial videos, because this is one of the changes that she got in Season 4. Juri got very, very, very few changes in Season 4. She only got 2 of them that were actually worthy of note. That was one of them. Now, on paper, initially I was kind of hoping this would be more useful than it actually is, because this will give you is 123 damage. So that's technically a better combo starter than doing just regular jumping heavy kick. Even though, you know, you figure in combo scaling and things like that, and it's going to vary depending on what combo you use. But still a good way to start things off. The problem is that jumping medium punch, when used as a jump-in tool and not an air-to-air tool, is very limited in terms of where it'll hit. If we try it from here, that's okay, that worked. Try it from here, we flew over him. We try it from back here, we landed in front of him. It's very specific about where it will actually hit. It's extremely easy to just fly over Ken's shoulder and miss completely. You have to know exactly where you're jumping in from. There are situations where you can kind of set that up. After a jumping heavy punch, after, sorry, a fierce DP. Ew. Oh, I'm thinking of the Red Satsu. No, I'm thinking of a different move. Sorry, I'm thinking of the Red Satsu, which we'll get to in a minute. Yeah, after that. You can get a set off of that, but if they use back recovery, then it's not going to work because they'll move out of the way of it. So that's my Facebook, not yours. It's very difficult to actually get that to connect at certain ranges. So you can use it as a jump-in tool. I just don't recommend it. You're better off going with a jumping heavy kick because it has a much easier time, depending on what range they're at, with hitting them. Yeah, we're miles away and we're still hitting them. So if we do it from here, doesn't work. So yeah, that's basically the reason. It's good, it's not great. If you can make it work, great. More power to you. I don't like it. That's just my personal opinion. That's her target combo's done. That's her command normals, that's all of her normals done. So let's get into special moves. Juri has a bunch of them. We'll start off with the Fireball Store. Fireball Store in itself does count as a special move because, well, it has all the properties of a special move. It will eat fireballs. If you time it right, you can eat a fireball with that because it has a projectile hitbox on it. Aside from that, it is -2. So if they block it, so if they block this, let's set Ken up so we can actually block so you can see this. Right, -2, so you're safe. So, like I said, it's good in those situations where if the back heavy kick is blocked when you're confirming, you can at least get a free store out of it. In addition to that, it will also push them quite far out of the way. So if you do this, that's basically reset neutral at that point. There's buttons they can throw out, but you're safe and anything that you block with will just push you even further out. So it's good for that purpose. It's good for just getting that free store if you use the back heavy kick into the store command. Store by itself, though, does not have a very good hitbox on it. It doesn't hit from very far away. So you saw it there, kind of just very slightly clip Ken. That said, it does also put them into a float state. So you can follow up afterwards, if it connects. That worked. I guess it doesn't. It's fine. I have not played this game in a while. But, it's okay, I still have my Juri. So, you can do the X Fireball anyway. Don't worry about the DP. So, that is, that's the other advantage of it. So, it does have its advantages, it does have its disadvantages. That's kind of it. It's an okay move. You really want to use it primarily on block. It's quite risky when you're in the neutral, when you're just like around this kind of distance to be storing up fireballs, because Juri is extremely vulnerable to jump-ins when she's doing that. The fireball animation store will not catch a jump-in. It will at very, very particular ranges, but more often than not, you will get kicked in the face for it. It's just not... Never try to use it as an anti-air. If you manage to anti-air someone with it, count your lucky stars and don't do it again. That's all there is to it. Let's move on. Alright. Getting into more of a fireball. So he shares 3 different fireballs, as I'm sure you know if you know even the slightest bit about Juri. Light fireball. Travels further in season 4. I'm pretty sure they... might have been 3.5. Regardless, it travels about half screen. It used to travel less than this. They increased the distance. It's probably 3.5 now that I think about it. So, what you really want to use this for is that there are 2 purposes for this fireball. The first purpose is that it will make the other fireballs safe. The other 2 fireballs are not safe on block by themselves. They're quite minus. If we want to have a look at this. So medium fireball is -4, heavy fireball is -6. But if you use a light fireball at the end of it, they both become -2. So that's a true block string. That's a true block string. So it makes the other fireballs safe. So if you are taking a bit of a gamble and you're throwing out random fireballs and they happen to block, you can spend another fireball to make yourself safe. It's an expensive way to spend a fireball because you have to go to the trouble of restoring it again, but it does make it safe. That's the first purpose of it. The second purpose of it is that it is a decent spacing tool. What do I mean by that? Well, when you throw this out, first of all, Juri has quite fast recovery on it. She has... I don't want to throw the number out because I'm not entirely sure of what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's 36 frames. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 36 frames, which makes it faster than pretty much any fireball recovery in the game. And that's fair because Juri has to go to the fucking trouble of storing it in the first place. So, throwing this out is extremely difficult to punish on reaction. It's more often than not, if you throw this out and you get punished for it, it's because they knew that you were about to do it. You established a pattern where you would throw one out, store, throw one out, store, throw one out, store, and by the time you do it the third time, they're like, okay, I'm gonna jump in and punish this shit. This happens to the best of us, don't feel bad. That said, when you throw it out, because it travels so slow, and because it travels a decent distance, a lot of people will be predisposed to blocking it. They will, even though they really shouldn't, because it's 50 damage, it's not really that big a deal. They'll just block it. They'll just sit there and go, okay, I'm gonna wait for this to be done, and then it's gonna be my time. So, depending on the range that you throw it at, you can actually be at close range. This is -2. It's +2 on hit, it's -2 on block. Trust me on that one. We proved it before. If you throw it from back here, and dash in after it, it's plus. So, it does have very little hit stun though. There's very little hit stun on that, and block stun as well. So if you're going to combo off of that or try and apply pressure off of that, it is very difficult. And the problem is that basically people just keep blocking. People know that you have to restore the fireball before you can use it again, so they'll just block and wait for their turn. So it's not good for that, but like I said, it forces them to block most of the time. So it does give you breathing room, it does give you setup opportunities so you can throw it out, jump in after it, things like that. So it's a good spacing tool, just don't rely on it because it is very punishable if they know it's about to be thrown out. Medium fireball. Only useful in combos. That's literally its only purpose. It's very slow to start up, very slow to recover. It's -4 on block as we saw before. It is literally not used for anything outside of combos. Do not use it for anything other than that. The end. Moving on. Heavy fireball. Not bad. It moves Juri forward, hits twice, does decent damage, does 90 damage, as we saw there. Used to do more, but Capcom nerfed it. Things like that. It's a decent combo ender. Essentially, it's a party starter for the V-Trigger, which we'll get onto later. That's really what you're going to use it for. It's the sort of thing you can throw out neutral if you want to buffer a crouching meme kick. So you buffer crouching meme kick and a heavy fireball. So if they don't like walk into the range of that, nothing comes out. Nothing comes out. But they walked into it, you clipped them low, you got some free. You got 130 damage for it. Not too bad. And like I said, there's follow-up opportunities off that. There's swag opportunities off that if you're into that sort of thing. But that's kind of it. So it's good, not great. The EX version of the fireball is -2 on block. I'll throw it out there just so we can see it. Again, not bad. It does... I used to think this move is bad. If you've watched the earlier tutorials I did for Juri when I was a less knowledgeable Red Gambit, I did say that this was a worthless EX move and you shouldn't use it. That's not true. I actually use this move quite a bit now. It has a lot of applications. Just be ready to throw tech at the end of that because people will try to throw you sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time. But as we saw before, it has applications, mostly in terms of being able to extend combos. Things like that, so... Yeah, you can... Like I said, you can do a fireball stall. EX fireball will catch it. If you are dying to use your V-Trigger, which we'll get into a little bit later, but you don't have a heavy fireball stored and you want to use that, which we'll get into later, you can cancel this. So this is cancelable into V-Trigger as well, so... It is 0 on block however, when you do that. So if we get Ken to block everything again. Yeah. 0 on block. So neither player is at advantage. That said, most people don't know that. You can abuse just the lack of Juri knowledge in a lot of people by throwing out EX Fireball, activating V-Trigger, and them giving you enough respect to let it be your turn anyway. That's really all there is to it. It definitely has its uses in certain combos, in certain situations, which we'll get into. But aside from that, it's alright. It's not good, it's not bad. It has no invincibility on it whatsoever. So do not count on that. It has a fireball hitbox on it, so you can cancel out projectiles with it, but I don't recommend that. That's kind of it. Moving on. Let's talk about her Rorin Satsu. The wheel kick, if you will. Alright. Juri has 3 different versions of this. There's only one of them that you'll be using. This move, I've mentioned this before, if you've seen previous tutorials, is a holdover from Season 1. In Season 1, Juri was designed to be an anti-fireball character, and they gave her this move to get around fireballs. She has 3 strengths to this move. Each strength will carry her further along. Each one gets progressively slower to start up as you go, so the light one being the fastest. Medium one, taking a little bit longer. Heavy one, taking the first of all. Heavy one obviously goes higher as well. Now, this move was designed to go over fireballs. It was the primary purpose of it, I'm absolutely convinced, and I will fight you in the street if you say otherwise. It does have other applications which we'll get into, but just for the moment I want to talk about the fireballs. You can go over fireballs with the medium or heavy versions of this. Heavy version being the best option because it goes the highest and the furthest. That said, it has no fireball invincibility whatsoever. None. 0. Zip. Zilch. Bupkis. So, long story short is that you do not want to use it for that because it's very difficult to time the move to go over the fireball. It's very difficult to hit that sweet spot, and if you mistime it and they're able to block, guess what? You're very minus on block again. You're -6. You're -6. So the only reason you ever want to use this move in its normal state is because it cancels in the super. It puts them into a juggle state, and you can easily cancel in the super. It's their primary way of getting super. That's really all there is to it. The light version is worthless. The light version was used in previous seasons to get cancelled in super because it couldn't do it off medium. But since Season 2, they patched it so that she can do it off medium as well, which made light redundant. Light's completely worthless. Heavy will not do it. Actually, no, Heavy does do it as well, but it does not cancel off other moves, so unless you throw it out randomly, it won't work. Yeah, so you can do it off Heavy, but the basic setup for Juri's super is back Heavy kick into right and start doing the super. That's the bread and butter. And you can't do it with the Heavy version because the Heavy version does not cancel. It does cancel, but it won't link. So you can do... See? Blockable. So you don't want to use that. You only want to use the medium version for super setups and nothing else. That said, the EX version is a lot better. EX version has projectile invincibility from start to finish. It is completely projectile invincible all the way from startup all the way through to the end of its active frames. So it is extremely, extremely good for getting out of situations where people are trying to pin you with projectiles. It will go through all of them. It will go through V-skill projectiles, it'll go through regular projectiles, it'll go through EX projectiles, it'll go through super projectiles. It'll go through all of them. So it's really good for if you get knocked down by a Guile player, for example, and he throws a boom expecting you to block it on wake up and be plus as hell because he's Guile. You can just EX right through that and catch him off guard. That said, it has no other kinds of invincibility, so if you try to use against a move which has physical properties rather than projectile properties, it will get beaten out. It will be knocked out of it. It's also very wonky. You can grab Juri out of it because apparently, even though she is clearly leaving the ground, her animation clearly has her leaving the ground. She is grounded during, as far as the computer knows, she is grounded during that animation. So she can be grabbed out of it. It's very weird. That's about all there is to it. You can get a follow-up off it as well. So get a little bit of extra damage for spinning your bar, so it's not bad in that regard either. It's probably one of her best EX moves. With the exception of the one that we're about to get into now, which is the Ten Sin Ren, or her Dragon Punch, if you want to call it that. Her uppercut, whatever you want to call it. She has 3 versions and they all behave differently. The light version travels on the ground. The medium version is her anti-air. Heavy version is her damage version, basically. You use it in combos and that's it. It has the same uppercut DP projectile properties that other heavy DPs do. In saying that, it's as worthless as other heavy DPs for avoiding projectiles. You can't go through Akuma's Air Fireball, which is the only thing you ever really want to use it for. So you don't want to use the heavy version for anything other than combos. Like that. The light version is actually a good spacing tool. It is minus on block. It's more minus if they're crouching because Capcom hates Juri. If Ken's standing, it's -3. If Ken's crouching, it's -8. So Capcom hates Juri, and that's all there is to that. But because it actually has a lot of pushback, if they are guarding all, so like so if you throw it out from here, for example, maybe not the best example, but do it from here. Like you do it from that range, there's nothing they can do to punish it. There's no 3-frame move that they're going to have in 9 times out of 10 situations, which will be able to punish that. So it's quite, as long as you don't do it at point blank range, because she lands right in front of them. If you want to do it from back here, there's not really going to be anything they can do to punish it. So it's quite good as a spacing tool, as a harassment tool. It's quite good in that regard. Wouldn't really use it for anything else. It's not useful in combos, it's just really just there as a spacing tool and as a harassment tool. That's pretty much it. The medium DP, I'm not going to spend too much time on, but it is her primary anti-air. DP, I should say. Well, she's not a primary one because that'd be the EX one. You can't use this as an anti-air because it has the same anti-air properties that other medium punch dragon punches have. The problem is that I can't show this to you. I've shown it in previous tutorials. If you want to go look at it in the Season 3.5 tutorial, I did actually include an example of this. But because she's spinning around, while she is doing this move, her hitbox flickers on and off, essentially. It's a really stupid design decision by Capcom. Nobody knows why. Well, actually, no, we know why they did, because it makes sense if you think about the fact that she's spinning and her legs aren't always in your face, I guess. But it's stupid from a gameplay standpoint because what it means is that it is inconsistent as an anti-air. It is very inconsistent. Whether that will actually be the move out that jumps in or not is purely down to random chance. Let's for the sake of argument, this is going to be a really long tutorial. For the sake of argument, let's get Ken doing some stuff. So Ken's going to jump in and do that. Right. Work that time. Thanks, Ken. There you go. Well, actually, no, that's startup. Let's try it one more time. Got it. There you go. She got beat out of it. Took 3 tries, and she got beat out of it. That was not startup. That was definitely active frames by that point. So that's really the problem with it, is that it is very inconsistent because of that spinning hitbox bullshit. Throw it out at your own leisure. Throw it out at your own risk. It's bad. It's not really good. If you're going to anti-air with a DP, you want to use the EX version. Because unlike the medium version, it is fully invincible from frames 1 to 9. So it will work as an anti-air. That said, it's only up to frame 9, so you can't throw it out too late because you can still get beat out of it. But it's by far and away her best version of the Dragon Punch because A, it's consistent, and B, it does the best damage, obviously. So that's really all there is to it. It's her best invincible move. It's a wake up reversal option if you like throwing those out, which I do because I'm stupid. It's basically her best EX move. So that covers it for EX moves. That covers all specials, all EXs. We're almost through this. We're going to talk about the critical art. Now the funny thing about this critical art is that it gets weaker the further away you are. You can't throw this out full screen. Well, you can't throw it out full screen period because it actually dissipates before it gets anywhere. Like that. You do it at point blank range, you get full damage. 330 damage. Right, you do it from mid range. Yeah, a little bit further out then. That's 330 still. That dissipated. Come on, Juri, work with me. There you go, 210. So it becomes inconsistent at longer ranges until it just doesn't come out. Well, it doesn't hit them at all. So that said, as far as supers go in the game, it is not one of the better ones at all. It's probably one of the worst ones in the game. It's probably not the worst one in the game. I don't know whose is, but it's probably not that. But as you saw before, it's really only useful in combo setups like most supers, but because it is a projectile super, moves that go through projectiles will go through that. So you want to be very careful about how you throw it out. You really just want to use it in the setup, like I showed you. Stuff like that. So it's bad as a wake up reversal option because people can use their invincible moves to go through it, and it's bad because it has projectile properties, and it's bad because it travels not very far, etc, etc. Use it in combos, nowhere else. That's it. Moving on. Oh my god, V trigger. Juri has 2 V triggers, but she really only has 1 because the other one is really bad. V trigger 1 is her main V trigger and is the one that you'll use. It is the Feng Shui engine. Juri gets a bar. It's a 2-bar V trigger, which makes it quite good. You can get it twice in a round sometimes. Not often. It happens probably 1 in every 10 or 20 games that you play. Because by the time you use you're actually able to use the second V trigger, they're probably either going to be dead or you're going to be dead. Because Juri's V skill, which we'll talk about after this, is very situational, it's very hard to build V trigger outside of getting hit. So that said, it does link together moves that wouldn't normally connect. So, for example, if we use Standing Light Punch, Standing Light Kick, Standing Medium Punch, they don't link. You can do it as fast as you want, they will not link. If you use V trigger, however, now they link. Like so. Every time you do a link, it uses a little bit more of your bar. So it does not decay at a steady rate like most people's do. It will decay faster the more you use it. So again, why it's not one of the better V-triggers in the game. It's not bad. Her V-trigger 1 I'd probably say is a mid-tier V-trigger. It's certainly not bad. It's just not good either because once people understand how it works, once people understand that all they really have to do is block and just let you burn through your bar by just pressing more and more buttons, it becomes a lot less threatening. It's really only scary when you can catch them in situations where they're actually getting hit by it. So that's why I like to use the heavy fireball to start it up. Because you clip low, you confirm. If they block it, the heavy fireball, victory cancel is, I think it's +6. It's one of the very few times it'll be very plus on block. Set to guard all. Yeah, +6. So you're +6 there, so you get to do whatever you want. So it's very good. Unlike the EX version when you cancel it, which is 0 on block, the heavy fireball cancel is +6. So you really want to do it then. That's the ideal time. Other Juri players will do it off of Roid and Satsu, which is +9. So that's the advantage there. The downside is though, is that if they block it, you know, like I said, +9, that's very good. If they get hit by it, you have no follow-up option. Aside from maybe a fireball. So, gosh darn it. You can spend some bar for an EX fireball, but that's the only follow-up damage you're going to get there in that situation. So, and also the Roid Satsu can be blocked mid, whereas the fireball has to be blocked low if you do it for crouching medium. So again, that's why I like it. But that's one property of it. The other property of it is that it will give you free fireballs. So if you activate it and you have no fireballs that are stocked up, it will give you free fireballs. It chews through meter at a ferocious rate if you use free fireballs. You'll get 4 free fireballs out of it at maximum. You used to get more, but it was a 3-bar V-trigger. So you really do not want to use it for free fireballs, because it will even use those free fireballs at priority over ones that you have stored. So if we have 3 full stores, we go into this, it's using our bar over the fireballs that we have stored. So you really do not want to use it for free fireballs. If you have to use a fireball in your combo, which you probably will if you're using V-Trigger, you want to use EX, because EX will not use meter. It will use a critical arc gauge instead of your V-Trigger gauge, which is much more preferable. So you want to do like something like, say, try again. Something like that. Or just... And that way you get to keep your V-trigger gauge and still be applying pressure and damage in those situations. And that's pretty much it. There's a lot more nuances to that gauge, which I got into in previous videos. I can go into it again. We'll talk about that later. I want to move on. V-trigger 2. Let's have a look. V-trigger 2 is arguably the worst V-trigger in the game. Some people will debate that. I say they're wrong. It drains meter, so if we restart the battle and we set Ken's V-trigger gauge, critical gauge to being normal, and let's just spend a little bar for the hell of it. Let's turn my normal as well. Alright, so we'll spend a little bit of bar. Nope. It's draining his bar and feeding into ours. It's bad because, as you can see, when you jump it doesn't work. When you throw, it doesn't work. When you get thrown, it doesn't work. When you're on the ground, it doesn't work. When you're in any kind of state other than just standing there or hitting him, it will not work. It shuts itself down in so many situations. It is extremely difficult to actually get any kind of efficacy out of it at all. There was a buff to it in Season 4 where it did get some extra combo potential added to it, but with the way that combo scaling and V-trigger scaling work in this game, it's still not worth it. If you're using this as a way of getting damage, V-trigger 1 is a better way to get damage, hands down. If you're using it as a way to steal meter, it does have its uses, and that's where I want to talk about this a little bit more. I've said in previous videos this is absolutely worthless and you should never use it, and I stand by that. It is a terrible fucking V-trigger. That said, I have spoken to some other Juri players who do use it and asked for their reasoning for it. One of them said they just like it and they just want to stand by it, which is dumb. The other one, who was a master or grandmaster, can't remember, level Juri, made a lot more sense. And their argument for it was that in certain matchups, there are characters who become a lot more scary when they have bar. So most characters in this game don't really become more scary when they have bar. They, you know, obviously they have more damage output, sure, but they don't rely on that bar to really bring the fight to you. They don't rely on it for huge amounts of pressure. There are certain characters that do. Juri is a character who gets a lot better when he has bar because he has EX Chariot Tackle, which just starts up out of fucking nowhere and travels the entire screen. Ed is a character who thrives when he has bar because he gains access to a reversal uppercut, which has an atrocious number of invincibility frames. It's something like 30 frames of invincibility. It's stupid. There's a few other characters like that where it is certainly in your best interest to keep their bar at an absolute minimum. So you're not using this V trigger. You're not using, I wish people would stop messaging me. You're not using this to build your own bar because Juri builds bar just fine on her own. She's fine at it. You're using this to keep their bar down. You're using it to rob them of any chance of building a bar whenever they can. So for that logic, I think it's not bad. If there's certain matchups like that where you just really want to make sure your opponent can get as little EX as possible and you're prepared to sacrifice the damage for it, V-Trigger 2 is not a bad option. That said, I've never used it in a match ever. But I can appreciate why people do. That is it. That is the primer for Juri. Holy shit, we went for a fucking hour on this video. That is a lot longer than I expected to go. And I was going to keep it short. Hopefully this has been very helpful to you. Hopefully this has been enlightening. If you've seen my other tutorials, hopefully you got a little bit more information out of this. If you want to fight me in the comments about any of this stuff, you're welcome to. I'm pretty much going to stand by my arguments, so you have to make a really compelling case to change my mind. That said, if you would like to see a follow-up video, which will hopefully be shorter, where we talk about setups, we talk about combos, we talk about frame traps, we talk about the applications of V-Trigger in more detail. Also, we forgot to talk about let's talk about a V-Skill. I forgot about that. This is a freeform video. Aren't you lucky? V-Skill can be charged. That's really all I'm going to talk about. V-Skill has two states. One where it's charged, and one where it's not. When it's not charged, it hits behind them, and it doesn't travel full screen. That's uncharged. If you charge it by holding down, and then dashing back once you see a cloud of smoke under her feet, it travels full screen, hits twice. You can either let this rip by itself by holding the buttons down, or you can cancel it by dashing back or forward and storing that for later use. The charged version goes through fireballs, the uncharged version does not. That's all I'm going to talk about because I want to wrap this up. Ah! That said, if you want to see those setups, you want to see combos, you want to see frame traps, you want to see all that information which I have not gone over in this video because it's taken too long already, let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, because that stuff really does help me out. I know all the YouTubers say it, but it really does help out because Google are dicks and they won't promote videos that aren't liked. Help me out there. If there's enough interest, I will do a follow-up. That's all for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. Hit me up in the comments below. I read everything. And that's it. So, kisses, hugs, belly rubs. I'll see all of you very soon.